Hi Whovians, Harry here, and welcome to my breakdown of the final episode of Doctor Who Redacted, Series 2, the episode Redemption. And in this episode, we finally get some answers as to what has been going on this entire series, and we see Abby, Shawna and Cleo resolve what they have been going through in this whole series. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe, also leave a like and comment down below, and let's get into the video. So before we get into the actual episode, the way that this series has been streamed is that it was released all at once for UK listeners, but for other countries it has been released weekly. And this episode was released for the whole world on the 23rd of October, which is exactly 1 year since the last Doctor Who episode, which was The Power of the Doctor, because that aired on the 23rd of October 2022, and this episode aired for all listeners on the 23rd of October 2023. So just a cool parallel I thought I'd mentioned. But back into the actual episode. This episode starts with the same way the previous one ended, with Cleo being grabbed by the Cobot in the London Underground, and Rani sending a message through Mr. Smith that the Doctor is missing. And once Rani has finished transmitting the message out on all intergalactic channels about the Doctor, Mr. Smith suddenly announces that he has detected a Cobot, which is of course the one attacking Cleo, and he says that it is active in the London Underground. So of course Mr. Smith knows about the London Underground then, so this is a big part of, well, the history in the Doctor Who world, because if Mr. Smith knows about it, and also Mr. Singh from episode 4 knows about the London Underground, this is a big thing, even though Honor is abusing all the refugees that are in the London Underground. However, he says that he has access to footage from the London Underground, and he relays that the Cobot's origin is the planet The Origin, which was the planet that Apex said he was from in the episode Apex, and Honor said that she was also from that planet in the last episode. And Mr. Smith gains audio and visual access, which Rani asks him to show them, and they see Cleo being attacked by the Cobot. Fortunately though, Mr. Smith is able to gain access to the Cobot and takes control of it, freeing Cleo. And Cleo, upon hearing that Rani, Abby and Shawna are there through the Cobot, because Mr. Smith now has access to it, and Cleo asks them if they have full control of the Cobot. So she plans that if they do, they can use it to stop Honor clearing out the London Underground. And Cleo calls the Cobot Optimus Prime, which is of course a reference to Transformers, with Optimus being of course the leader and one of the most recognisable Autobots. So a cool reference to that. Unfortunately though, Mr. Smith reveals that he can't fully access the Cobot and that it is fighting back against his control. However, even without the Cobot, Cleo says that she has to help the refugees in the London Underground. So she ventures further into the London Underground, and things only get worse once she finds the refugees and Honor's drones show up. And Honor, shows up with her drones and reveals that she is selling off the refugees as slaves. And Cleo obviously speaks up against Honor. However, Honor counters that people won't agree with Cleo about that the alien refugees should have a place to stay, as anti-alien sentiment is higher than ever after the Flux. Now, of course, the Flux is the event that was created by the Division to destroy the universe in the last series of Doctor Who, Series 13, or as it was also known by Flux. And Flux was basically created to destroy the whole universe, but of course after the Sontarans and the Daleks and the Cybermen, of course, people will recognise this whole thing, and of course Honor is probably right that people are more anti-alien than ever. So that's just a cool bit of continuity between this show and the actual Doctor Who show. However, Cleo says that she doesn't care because it's the right thing to do and that Apex would agree with her. However, Honor then reveals that Apex is working with her. And through this, Apex steps forward to confirm that what Honor is saying is true. And Honor again tries to get Cleo to phone the Doctor after basically shattering Cleo's world that Apex was not working with Honor, that he was trying to do something that was right. However, now that Honor has kind of broken Cleo a bit, she thinks she can now just get Cleo to phone the Doctor. And Honor also confirms that's why Apex fixed Cleo's phone in the episode Spaceman. That it was just to get Cleo to contact the Doctor. And Cleo does actually phone the Doctor after bargaining with Honor that if she phones the Doctor, the refugees can't be sold off as slaves. But when Cleo is on the phone to the Doctor, or has gotten the Doctor's voicemail, she tells the Doctor that everything is fine before hanging up, of course angering Honor. So Honor decides to send the Cobot to the London Underground, and basically if the refugees don't agree that they should be, signed up as slaves, she will kill them. However, once she gets the Cobot into the London Underground, Shawna and Mr. Smith have been able to gain control to the Cobot, granting them, full access and control over it. So, of course, then a massive fight erupts between Honor's drones and the Cobot, and Cleo takes cover, and as she takes cover, she lands by Apex. And Apex asks for his magic flute back, of course, the wave disruptor, but Cleo dropped it when she was grabbed by the Cobot. And upon hearing this, Apex runs off. And unfortunately, things only get worse when the Cobot fights back, regaining control from Mr. Smith and shutting him down. And with, Mr. Smith out the picture with Rani, Shawna and Abby with no way for them to get control over the Cobot back, and the Cobot shuts down. And with the Cobot shut down, the refugees surrender to Honor, but suddenly the TARDIS materialises, that sound can be heard, and Honor and Cleo see it arrive. And, of course, Cleo is shocked and wants the Doctor to go because Honor, of course, wants this TARDIS. And she is, gravitated towards the TARDIS. She is walking towards it. And as she reaches the TARDIS, her hand passes through. And Apex steps forward and reveals that this TARDIS is just a hologram. And it was a way to trick Honor in the same way that she tricked Apex and Cleo with a hologram of the TARDIS in the episode Underground. And Apex reveals that he didn't run off because he was a coward. He was using that to buy time to fix his wave disruptor. He sent a hologram of the TARDIS so he could buy time to fix a wave disruptor and use it to destroy all of Honor's drones. Which, of course, he does do. And with Honor's drones all destroyed, she, goes with Apex and Cleo as they have basically destroyed everything that she was working for. And while they're just in like a sort of meeting together, Honor finally admits that she loves Apex. However, the love is not reciprocated because Apex doesn't love her. However, Cleo manages to convince Honor that Apex isn't worth it because he's a con man, he's a liar, manipulator, coward, not the... in Cleo's words, not the most handsomest person in the universe, to which Honor eventually agrees and decides to leave the London Underground to Rome in exchange for Apex's ship. And then once she has Apex's ship, she leaves Earth, possibly forever. So that is finally the London Underground and the Honor plot finally resolved with basically, well, Cleo a bit, obviously Apex and Cleo coming out on top, but Cleo has shattered Apex's confidence, and Cleo is wondering why the Doctor didn't really make an appearance. However, with the threat of Honor gone from the world, Cleo meets up with Rani, Abby and Shawna after, of course, she tells them where she is. And Rani congratulates Cleo on doing, so well in the London Underground. And she tells Cleo that she's been doing this since she was a child, which is, of course, referencing her time with Sarah Jane in the Sarah Jane Adventures. And she goes to tell them that there's going to be a lot of cleanup in this, after cleaning up after Honor in the London Underground. And she references that she does have some friends, though, that can help her, referencing Luke, Clyde, Skye, and Maria. Now, of course, I did go over their backstory in the last episode on Doctor Who Redacted, which I did a video of, so check that out if you haven't already. But I'll just go over them quickly here. So, of course, Luke, Clyde and Maria were the original three that helped Sarah Jane Smith in the first series of the Sarah Jane Adventures before Maria left at the start of the second series of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and then Rani came along and replaced her. And in the last series of the Sarah Jane Adventures, Skye also joined the team, with Luke leaving in series 4, and just coming back in some random episodes as like a kind of guest star. And of course, Luke appeared in the first ever episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, just like Maria. Clyde appeared in the, third episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and Rani appeared in the second episode of the second series of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and Skye appeared in the first episode of the last series of the Sarah Jane Adventures. Hopefully that all makes sense. Unfortunately, though, we didn't see much of Skye because the last series which she joined was unfortunately cut short due to Elizabeth Sladen's untimely death. But it is just great to hear references to the whole of the Sarah Jane Adventures cast, and a quick glimpse and insight into what they are doing now. But then we cut to Abby, Shawna and Cleo doing a Blue Box Files podcast, of course talking about the giant rats that Cleo was investigating in this series, basically in the first 2 episodes of this series, Regrets and Apex. And on about the giant rats, they also mentioned that there are other giant animal sightings, mentioning the giant spiders in Sheffield, of course referencing the episode Arachnids in the UK, and giant maggots in Wales, which is a reference to a classic Doctor Who episode, the episode The Green Death, which was a 3rd Doctor story, and it also was that in that episode, it also featured the last regular appearance of companion Jo Grant, as that was her, that was the last story that she appeared as a regular companion. And they're all having a great time, like they did in Series 1 when they were just doing their Blue Box Files podcast. But unfortunately, Abby says that this is going to be the last Blue Box Files podcast episode for a while, because obviously this coincides with that this is the last episode of Doctor Who Redacted Series 2. So it would kind of make sense that why would there be more episodes if we don't see them, but it doesn't really make too much sense in the plot of this episode, but I guess because they fell out with each other, kind of, because investigating all these alien sightings got in between them and caused friction between them, so I guess that's why they are taking a break. But, of course, Shawna says the typical podcast thing, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you, Shawna, so don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, this channel. And after the podcast, Abby and Shawna apologise to Cleo and say that they should have listened to her about the giant rats case, even though technically it would have led nowhere. if Apex didn't turn up, because Apex only turned up because Cleo was there, because she was getting in contact with the Doctor. So I don't think Abby and Shawna are in the wrong. They didn't really need to listen to Cleo. However, they do apologise, and Cleo apologises too, and they make up and become best friends again. And this episode ends with, of course, Cleo, as all the other episodes in this series have ended, and it is Cleo meeting Apex on a roof, on some roof over London, watching the sunset over London. And Apex mentions Camden Market, which is where the 14th Doctor meets Donna in the 60th anniversary specials, or at least the Star Beast, which we have seen from trailer footage and also leaked footage. And so they can at least see Camden Market somewhere from wherever they are in London. So just keep that in mind for a second. Also, Apex reveals that he wants to stay on Earth for Cleo, and because even though I have said that they have a toxic relationship, which I still believe in, of course, Cleo humbled Apex, and Apex finally realizing that he doesn't have to work for Honor, is like, I want to stay with you, Cleo, and of course Honor has his spaceship, so he can't really go too far anywhere, even though he does have his space manipulator. But he reveals that he wants to stay on Earth for Cleo. Cleo is that important to him. This relationship is that important to him that even though he could go anywhere in space with his space manipulator, he would want to stay on Earth for Cleo. And Cleo appreciates this and actually reciprocates the love for Apex, even though she said to Honor that Apex wasn't all that. So, bit hypocritical. It seems like you only wanted Honor to leave because you wanted Apex to yourself, but I'll just let that be. Because they kiss on the rooftop just like they kissed in the moonlight in the episode Spaceman. However, something interrupts this kiss because suddenly they see a spaceship crash land in London. So, with them seeing a spaceship crash land in London, and with them being able to see Camden Market, could this spaceship be the same one that the 14th Doctor and Rose saw in the 60th anniversary trailers? So, does this mean that at least Cleo and Apex are going to be in the 60th anniversary specials, or at least the Star Beast? And maybe even Abby, Shawna, Rani, Clyde, Luke, Sky, and Maria too. That would just be insane. I mean, a spaceship crashing in London, it doesn't happen every day. So I would just be so psyched if at least Cleo and Apex made an appearance in at least the Star Beast special one of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary. That would just be amazing. And that is where this episode ends, and of course this series as well. Now I think this episode was amazing, the whole series was, and even though we got a lot of questions answered, everything wasn't answered. It wasn't really tied up in a nice little bow like Doctor Who Redacted Series 1. So does this mean that at least Cleo and Apex are making an appearance in the Star Beast of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary? Or does this mean that we're going to get a Doctor Who Redacted Series 3? Because there are some unanswered questions, like, what was the alien that escaped? You know, the alien that was freed by Apex, that was in a Torchwood 2 facility, and that Abby and Shawna encountered it in the Torchwood personnel person, Archie Bell. And also, why did that alien go back to the Torchwood 2 facility when Apex helped it escape, and it escaped from that facility? So why did it go back if it spent all that time escaping from it? And also, sticking with Torchwood, are all the Torchwood branches disbanded or not? Like, is Torchwood 3 still up and running? It seems like Torchwood 2 from this series is fully disbanded. It was only Archie Bell. But are all the Torchwood branches disbanded? Also, why didn't the Doctor come to help Cleo, or at least respond to her? Because, yeah, David Tennant is going through some things. Well, the 14th Doctor is going through some things, having the 10th Doctor's face, David Tennant's face. But he could have at least answered Cleo in some way, shape or form. Also, what was wrong with the Doctor's timeline? Why couldn't Mr. Smith find him? Because we know from the comic strip Liberation of the Daleks that the Doctor is just fighting some Daleks. So what makes that wrong with the Doctor's timeline? Again, I said, is it like the Once and Future box series where the Doctor is going through degeneration? But that seems to be in the Doctor's past, like the 8th Doctor or the War Doctor. So what is wrong with the current Doctor's timeline? What is wrong with the 14th Doctor's timeline? Will this get solved in one of the 60th anniversary specials that we have coming up, in less than a month's time? And also, one final question. What was the spaceship that crashed in London at the end of this episode? Is it the spaceship that we'll see in the 60th anniversary specials? I don't know. As I said, there were a lot of unanswered questions in this episode that definitely need answers. If not in the 60th anniversary, definitely in a series 3 of Doctor Who Redacted. Or if they are going to do a unit spin-off or another Torchwood spin-off, definitely need answers in those spin-offs. So, while the main plot of Series 2 of Doctor Who Redacted has been wrapped up in this episode, there are still a lot of unanswered questions. However, I am hopeful that we will get some answers in the 60th anniversary. I am really hopeful for that, or at least a Series 3 of Doctor Who Redacted. But even with all those unanswered questions, I am still I still thought that this series was amazing, this episode was amazing, and I really want another series of Doctor Who Redacted. But let me know down in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? What did you think of this series? Would you be excited to listen to another third series of Doctor Who Redacted? Let me know down in the comments below. And also, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. Also subscribe and share it out. And I will see you in the next one.